Hello everyone, welcome to the 16th episode of my blog, which is F2F Adopts, aka face-to-face-adopts.com, the blog, the video blog, which helps you understand digital advertisement in simple words. Today we'll be discussing on a particular situation, on a particular subject, which is quite serious, which is quite a nightmare of every campaign manager out there, as well as the client and other departments too. Today we'll be talking about ad server discrepancies and how we can, let's say, resolve them if possible, and also how many types of them are there. So we will be talking about what is a discrepancy, what are the reasons behind discrepancy, probable resolutions, and conclusion. So what's our take on discrepancies? So what is discrepancy? Discrepancy can simply be defined as the difference between two entities. It can be discrepancy in weight, numbers, or almost any two measurable entities. So let's say you bought some packaged food and the total weight of that is mentioned as 1 kg. You came home and before you opened it, you felt like measuring it with the weighing scale which you have, and you saw like it's actually 800 grams and not 1 kilogram, 1 kg. So the discrepancy here is 200 grams. So we have a parent number, we have a secondary number, and the difference between it is called discrepancy. Discrepancy in digital advertisement also means somewhat similar. So in digital advertisement, we have several ad servers working together for an advertising campaign. There can be an ad server for the publisher side, one for the agency side, and there can be additional ad servers too. So when the recorded stats in each of these ad servers, impression, clicks, leads, revenue, whatever, do not match, is termed as discrepancy. So when data from ad server 1 doesn't match with ad server 2, so the difference between these two is termed as discrepancy. The reasons behind them, well, I found around 17 reasons, but there can be more than that, and I have tried categorizing these reasons under general category, browser category, and technical category. Though we need to keep one thing or something in mind, like there can be some reasons which can't be eliminated completely. We might be able to bring down the percentage of discrepancy or bring down the probability of that reason, but we can't eliminate that reason completely. We'll be talking more about which kind of reasons we are talking about in the slides to follow. So this is all about what is discrepancy. Now, what are the reasons behind discrepancy? So the reason can be general, browser, or technical, as I mentioned. So in detail, let's have a discussion. General reasons for discrepancy. The first one would be time differences. So a particular ad server, let's say ad server 1 and ad server 2. So ad server 1 has a reporting time zone of let's say PST, and ad server 2 has a reporting time zone as, let's say, GST, which is Gulf Standard Time. Now when the reports are fetched, the ad server 1 will fetch data as per PST time interval, and this one, the ad server 2, will be fetching as per the GST time interval. So when you match the numbers, though you will be seeing numbers, but those numbers are not exactly the same. There will be a difference of around 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It depends on the difference between the time zones which has been set. So how to eliminate them? We need to ensure the time zone in each of the ad server which we are considering for billing or reporting purpose, they are the same. So ad server 1 should also be PST, ad server 2 should also be PST, or any other time zone, but it should be the same. Campaign setup errors. There's always a possibility of campaign setup or trafficking errors, based on which there has been discrepancy showing up. The resolution would be the campaign managers or the team responsible for trafficking the campaign need to be very particular and recheck their work to ensure there shouldn't be any discrepancy related issues later. Too many ad redirects. So ad server 1 means basically on whenever there's an advertising campaign, display advertising campaign, there are 2 ad servers minimum. So there are redirections happening twice before landing on the final page or the landing page. So the more the redirects or more ad servers or redirection logics are involved, there are more possibilities of discrepancy, because in a case when the click has happened but the turnaround time which actually happens from ad server 1 redirects to ad server 2, and then ad server 2 pushes the data to showcase and it shows on the web page. So this entire circuit might get delayed in a time when everything is happening. When the circuit is getting completed, the user might be less interested. He might feel like, oh, I opened this tab by mistake, so he might close it and go out of the page. So too many ad redirects. If there are many ad redirects involved, ad server 1 redirecting to 2, redirecting to 3, and then it is showing up, the time which is spent there, the user can feel like it's taking a lot amount of time. Let me click on this link to visit another section of the page or something like that. So the request remains incomplete and it will result in discrepancy. Network stability. If your internet connection or internet connection speed, those are not as per, let's say, the favorable parameters, it might result in discrepancy. Like, there has been several situations I have seen, like some campaigns are run for broadband users only, some campaigns are run in general. So whether you have a broadband connection or you have a slower broadband connection, though there are no dial-up connections nowadays, but slower broadband connections or high-speed broadband connections, the issues happen with the slower broadband connections. So the people who are serving a particular site through less internet speed connectivity, they might face the issue of loading of a page slower, loading of the ad slower, and in response there might be discrepancy from an ad server point of view, because if the connection is slow, then everything which follows is actually slow. So I have clubbed network stability and internet bandwidth together. VPN and firewall usage. VPN and firewall usage can be like, nowadays we use VPN in our workplace not to open objectionable sites. By the way, there's in media agencies or media organizations, we use VPNs to check a particular visual showing how it is showing up on a different geo. So I might be in Dubai and I want to check a campaign which is running in India, and as per the targeting goes, I'll not be able to see any Indian ads showing up if I'm browsing through my Dubai IP. So I might use a VPN network from India, and it would help me check the banners and comment on them and see whether everything is going good or not. These actually might result in discrepancy. So browser related issues. First one, and very important one, is ad blockers. Ad blockers, though I have mentioned it under browser related, but it's no more a browser constraint, let's say, unit executionable file nowadays. Ad blockers have invaded the desktop or your laptop entirely, or your mobile too. There are browsers completely very much capable of blocking any type of ads at any point of time. There are applications which runs at a global permission level, so when your system boots up, that application automatically starts, and whatever applications you let's say whatever browsing you are doing, whatever websites you are visiting, it automatically scraps out the ads irrespective of which browser you are using, and it blocks it. So what we understand from a very broader level is like, ad blocker, if I'm not seeing an ad, that means there has been no request. But yeah, there has been requests obviously, and most of the time those are incomplete requests, and which happens like the publisher ad server, when the page loads immediately, the publisher request goes to the third-party ad server. Now, before the third party sends across the data or it is displayed on the portal, the ad blocker blocks it and doesn't show anything on the page. So there's a lot of incomplete circuits happening when ad blockers are in action. Browser issues or limitations. Old browsers, if you're using Firefox 13 or 14, or that, those are really old, well, you might have issues related to discrepancies, because not not all old browsers are capable of showcasing the new advanced ads metrics, or the video executions or ad executions which we run nowadays. So there can be again incomplete requests happening which doesn't get fulfilled because of the incapability of the browser to showcase that kind of unit. So this is browser issues and limitations. JavaScript setting being turned off is another issue which might have some issues with the showcasing of the ads on a particular website. Technical reasons, well, we have around 9 technical reasons I have jotted down here. There might be quite more, but ad load or latency, as I mentioned in my earlier the first slide where we were discussing the general topics, ad load and latency also plays an important role in discrepancy. So if a ad loads not in an optimum speed, not always is the issue of the internet bandwidth, but also there might be some overloading of the ad server, or some ad server bugs or technical issues with the ad server, which is actually causing the ad to show in a delayed time. So whenever we say delayed time, it actually means initial requests have gone to the secondary ad server from the primary ad server, and while the secondary ad server showcases the requested data, there has been some delay. Excuse me. Improper implementation of cache busting macros. So every tag which we share with the portals, they need to have a cache busting macro. And what this macro actually does, whenever the page loads, it doesn't recall the content from the cache memory. It always tries fetching fresh data from the ad server. If there has been some incorrect implementation of cache busting macro, then there is an issue of the same banner being shown from the cache and not requesting all the time. Now there will be, not every time it will be asking the cache to showcase the data. There can be incomplete requests too whenever there's a page request without cache busting implementation. So this might result in discrepancy. Heavy creatives and usage of polite download logic. So with evolution of digital advertisement, banner advertisement has come up a long way. The stats earlier was 40 kb, less than 40 kb, and yeah, so 40 kb was something very high earlier, and as time progressed, we understood like 40 kb is well, let's say appreciable weight, irrespective of which download or which internet speed you are using. So, but now we have rich media executions, custom executions, which are really heavy: 1 MB, 2 MB, 5 MB, 10 MB. If in case it's a, let's say, heavy expandable or expandable with video or a video pre-roll, so the size actually goes much above 1 MB or so. Now, usually the logic which is followed is like when the page loads, the ad also loads. In this case, if the creative is really heavy, this actually helps in creation of, or let's say generation of discrepancy, because if I follow the same logic for heavy creative, so the page is loading. In the meanwhile, the page content has loaded, the other ads are loaded, and there's one particular unit which is a, let's say, video MPO, and the page is actually loading, waiting for the entire load to happening, and then it will show up the content. But by that time the user might go to some other page, there might be delay in the ad server, there might be, as I said, ad load issues or latency issues, so it will seem like the ad is always loading, it's loading forever. So in order to counteract that, there is a logic which says polite download. So in polite download, what happens whenever a ad starts loading, a small part of the banner loads first. Let's say if it's a 5 MB unit, then 1 MB or 500 KB it loads first. It shows that particular creative within that 1 MB what it has loaded, and in the meanwhile, when that 1 MB part of the visual is showing up at the back end, it loads the rest 4 MB, for example. So in this case, what happened, it's a measure to keep the engagement level of the user and the product or the advertisement, and also to minimize discrepancy. Display of ads after page load. There are some browsers, there are some ad servers where you can actually delay the loading of an visual on a web page, though it is not at all let's say suggested, not at all recommended, but this thing can result in discrepancy. Usage of iframe tags instead of JavaScript. So JavaScript is the most popular code format which is used in digital advertisement. Almost all the executions which happens on display banners happen through JavaScript codes, but in some cases some portals might have issues running JavaScript codes. In that case, the campaign manager supplies iframe tags with them, and iframe tags are not very recommended because iframe tags are known to have discrepancies. Usage of verification logic. So with the growth of advertisement, what it was earlier and what it is today, there has been a lot of concern over the type of ads we are showing up, and in a web page, what are the combination of ads we are showing up. So on a web page where the page discusses about baby food, there should be no visuals, no ads related to, let's say, guns, for example. These are mismatching categories. Or let's say on a news site, a well-known news site, there shouldn't be any adult or pornographic visuals showing up on an ad. So in order to counterattack these kind of occurrences, there are verification logics which actually verifies the content and the category it falls into, and eventually it prevents showing of particular, or let's say, cross category ads on a particular website. Sorry. So, and there's another, and with the same thing there comes spam filtering. So there has been a lot of click fraud of late. We hear about click fraud. There had been, it's happening. There had been click fraud, there had been lead fraud, and in order to counteract that, when there are spam filtering logics implemented on an ad server. So what the ad server does is, whenever it understands like from a particular area, from a particular IP, there has been too many of clicks coming within a particular period of time, or too many leads generating from a particular period of time, it will automatically either take the first click or the first lead as the genuine one, and it will disregard the rest, or it might simply block that particular IP automatically, so that the ads are not shown to that particular IP address or that particular system or that particular area. And in order to in order to prevent and bring down the frauds happening, frequency cap implemented at third-party ad server, which shouldn't happen. Third-party ad server is the agency side ad server. First-party ad server is the publisher side ad server. Any targeting, any restriction which is to be implemented always needs to be done at the first-party ad server, which is the publisher side. Nothing should actually be implemented on the third-party ad server, which is the agency side ad server, because the main motive of agency ad server is to push ads, is to receive request and deliver the content. It shouldn't have any restriction. Frequency caps can actually cause discrepancies. A very easy example is, let's say, the publisher ad server, let's say a particular visual A or visual 1 is set as targeted, let's say, frequency cap for 3 times a day for a particular user. So that user refreshes the page, he refreshes 3 times, he is able to see that ad. The 4th time when he refreshes, he actually sees a blank spot. Now what happens here is, for all these requests, first time the publisher ad server, when showing the content on the page as well as ads, it requests the third-party ad server for the content. Third-party ad server, during this 4th time, let's say if we personalize both of them, then the third-party ad server might say like, I'm sorry, I can't show you the ad again. There has been restrictions set on me, like it will be shown only 3 times. But the publisher ad server might say, anyway, but I need to show something, but I can't show you, I have a restriction on me. So what publisher ad server will do, it will just show a house ad, or it will show let's say, blank space. So blank ad we call it. So these actually lead to discrepancies. As I said, initial request goes to the secondary ad server or publisher's agency side ad server, but agency ad server denies sharing of data because of frequency cap. So these are incomplete requests, and this might result in discrepancies. Not might, actually, this results in discrepancies. So the counterattack would be, there shouldn't be any restriction, any frequency cap, any targeting set on the third-party ad server, which is the agency side ad server. Last one, different geomapping, IP mapping logic. So there are several geomapping logics. So every ad server is capable of recording stats based on geo. So a particular campaign ran in Europe, or let's say in India, or India and UAE, and the ad server can record much more granular detail, like from each city how many impressions or clicks they have received, or how many from each country how many impressions or clicks have been received. So the logic which is followed for all these ad servers might be different, though I believe there is a general structure for geomapping, but the way this geo data is collected might be different between ad servers, and this definitely results in discrepancies. There's one more point, which would be click tags. It's not mentioned, I'm just saying it. One more point after, let's say, the last one in technical reasons would be click tags. So the usual click tag what we use is the get URL one. That is known to have very least discrepancy, but whenever there are third-party custom proprietary click tags we use. Now there are some ad servers which demand using of their own click tags, not click sorry yes, on own click tags, that might result in discrepancy because of cross ad server, let's say, interaction which happens there. There is a publisher ad server which we all know. I'm not taking the name, but it's quite popular and it has issues with another agency side ad server. So there's always investigation going on how to eliminate these click issues or impression issues, and there are some additional codes which needs to be implemented on every ad, so every visual at the ad level or at the campaign level, in order to eliminate these situations. So yeah, so click tag is the last point for, let's say, the technical reason for discrepancy. So these are all the reasons, all possible reasons for discrepancy, and why it is happening and how we can actually remove them. So discrepancies, see you forever. Will it be there forever? Well, we can say like it will be existing forever. Though we have succeeded to minimize the percentage in total elimination of discrepancies, minimize the percentage, but total elimination of discrepancies is not possible, especially when multiple ad servers or dependencies are involved. So what's the way forward? It's like, will we be taking into consideration like, okay, there will be a loss of revenue or loss of booked impressions for every campaign? Well, there is some optimization which we can do, and it will be for publisher side. What they can do is they might implement uplift of impressions. So if, let's say, 100,000 is a booked goal, they might include 10% extra uplift. So 110,000, so 110,000 impressions as the goal at their end. So even if they have a discrepancy which is within 10%, it will cover up and still the campaign will deliver in full, and it will show up in both the ad servers. On a slightly different note, next time your client shows a frown face over under delivery of a campaign and you found like discrepancies are the culprit, well, all you can do is show them my video and I will discuss to them what happens in a discrepancy situation and what are the different reasons behind it. Or you can yourself discuss with your client and make them understand like this is the reason why it has happened. Not every time is a particular ad server or particular department is at fault. There might be cross ad server issues also, and this is one such campaign. So conclusion, discrepancies will always be there. Discrepancies are like a way of life for digital advertisement, but it's our responsibility from a technology or an ad server service provider point of view to investigate and come up with logics and resolutions so that the percentage is minimized. As of now around 10 to 15% of acceptable discrepancy levels are talked about between agency and publisher. For some ad servers involved it might be 10%, for some it might be 15%. So yeah, so it's like when an agency says till 15% discrepancy, we are good with it. Anything more than 15% will be considered as a under delivery or something like that. So ad server 1 publisher side, ad server 2 agency side, the difference is between 15% or 10%. That's good. Campaign has delivered in full. If it is more than that, then it might be considered as a loss, and there might be, let's say, interactions and reverse logics on how to compensate on that will happen after that. This will be done by the planners. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So this was episode 16. Keep visiting f2fadopts.com. Subscribe to my mailing list, YouTube channel, or Twitter. Links are there in the video description below. And what's the purpose of this blog? It's all about for you to stay informed on digital advertisement, everything in simple words. Thanks, all the best. Thanks for watching this video. Take care and have a great career ahead. Yay.